Basically, the project has been ongoing for the last 22 years. So I know Siona started, I think, in Australia with it in 1999, and then New Zealand quickly kind of hopped on the bus as well. And the first 3 years of the project were basically looking at the serrated tussock. And as Siona said, there was nothing really that looked feasible. However, there were a number of agents that were found for Chilean needlegrass. And so our collaborator Frida Anderson in Argentina has undertook surveys for a period of 5 years, initially surveyed the native range of this weed throughout Argentina. And basically only one agent was found to be suitable. There were 5 potential agents. 3 of them were rust fungi, and the most suitable agent and the only agent for this weed was the Euromyces pencanus, because it was found to be very damaging in the fields. It knocked the plants back extensively, and then it also was seen to be reducing the seed load. So they just decided on one particular isolate. I did large number of host range testing just to make sure that what you bring in is suitable. So they looked at about 65 taxa, which included 12 Chilean needlegrass populations, and those were from Hawke's Bay, Canterbury, and Hawke's Bay, Auckland, and Marlborough, and then 2 Nacella tussock populations and a whole lot of wheat cultivars and a number of other grass species, and was found to be host specific, and I'll address that a little bit more in the thing. So basically in 2011, we applied for a permit to release from IRMA, which was EPA back in the day, apparently. That permit expired, so we, not myself, the royal we, applied for a new application from the EPA. However, what happened was that between 2011 and 2017, the Australians actually wanted additional host range testing done, and they asked for it. And what was found that 2 Austrus stiper species that are native to Australia were found to be susceptible to this rust species. So the EPA application was put on hold, and what we didn't, and they required from us to do additional testing of 3 native New Zealand species that are closely related to the Nacella within the stipe tribe, and these are the 3 that you can see here. So that added another layer to the to why it's taken so long, and we've been given 2 additional extensions, thankfully, and we now have an extension till April 2024. So what also slowed it down in terms of 2011 till 2021, which is literally 10 years to import, was the fact that Argentina signed the Nagoya Protocol, which literally looks at access to genetic resources and fair and equitable sharing of benefits that arise from their utilization, and unfortunately biocontrol agents fall under that category. So it's taken literally, it took 10 years for them to go through some bureaucratic hoops, and for the government to actually figure out how they will export and how they will incentivize their biodiversity. Also, yeah, and this will be the first fungal agent that Argentina will export, or has exported now. So what happened was, finally in 2011, 11, we thought that Christmas had come, and we finally got the permit to export from the Argentinian government in 2021. However, it came with a codicil that the agent had to be shipped within 3 months. So we had until the end of December to get the agent into New Zealand. It literally was it was sent by Frida on the 23rd of December. However, it did kind of, and you can see from my slide that it did quite a loop. Basically, I have a map. So basically the culture died en route. It took 3.5 weeks to get from Argentina. And by the time we tested it, we had 1% infection. So we had 1% germination of all. So we counted 100 of the pustules, the rust pustules, and one kind of, we think, germinated. So that wasn't very hopeful, and it died. So what happens next? So what happened in the interim was that Frida, when I told Frida that the culture had not survived, they then had to plant new Chilean needlegrass plants in Argentina, which they did, and then use the spores that they had, the remaining spores of the isolate that we were using, to inoculate those plants. And thankfully, that is a go. So they've got a new culture, and they've been harvesting spores, which is fantastic. And they have what we call a new culture of the rust. And so now we restart the export permit application again. And however, there is a deadline, because the permits, the memorandum of understanding, as well as the actual permitting process has to be completed by the end of this year. So again, the 31st of December. So the plan is to, we're setting up a contract at the moment with Frida and her organization, and then one of her collaborators will hand carry the culture and bring it into New Zealand before the end of December. I will then, and with Juan's help, establish that culture into containment, and hopefully thumbs crossed, because otherwise, if that doesn't happen, and this is the worry, is that if the culture does not establish, we will have backup spores, but whether we will be able to get another export permit without all the drama of going through what Frida had to go through for the last 10 years is a little bit worrying. I have sourced the additional host test plants, which is a little bit more exciting than I wanted it to be, but I have managed to access populations of all 3 of the test species, and they're all busy growing for additional host range testing once the culture is established. Once that is done, we will resubmit or submit the EPA with the amendment onto it. And if all things go according to plan, the first releases will potentially be in 2024. I've
got one, Ilana.
Hi.
Yeah, so when you say in 24 it can be released, what do you envisage happening then?
So finding a suitable site, preferably in the Marlborough region, the reason being that the rust is very host specific, and what was found when they did the testing was that it only infected the Marlborough Chilean needlegrass and not the Hawke's Bay or the Auckland populations. So we will want to release it in the Marlborough region on their plants. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Warwick. Oh.
Can I ask a question too after Warwick?
Yeah, I guess my question is around. I travelled to Argentina with a bit of an ulterior motive, but things didn't transpire as they should have with COVID. But how risky is this whole process in terms of these additional hosts? range testing?
I think it's not very. According to the list that I looked at, they have looked at closely related relatives of the one Acantherma that they did test turned out to be a different genus. Eventually, they reclassified it. The fact is, it's going to be quite host specific. It doesn't even go onto some of the other Chilean needlegrass accessions. And those two species, the three species, yeah, the Ostrastipa species, it's an Ostrastipa stipoides, is native, but it occurs in Australia and here as well. The other is an Acantharum Piliae, Peachiae, and it's actually on the decline, the plant. And it's found in very kind of scattered, and it's more under threat from the Nacella than it would be possibly from the rust. And then the other one is an Anemanthiel, yeah, which is apparently very common.
So, Alana, we've got a question. Yeah. Is North Canterbury CNG the same as Marlborough CNG, and therefore a possibility for a trial site in North Canterbury also?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea whether they tested those. Let me just see. I have my list because I still have to figure out where North Canterbury is in New Zealand. So they literally looked at Hawke's Bay, Auckland, and Marlborough. So I have no idea, but I presume it would be similar, but it's something we could test to see.
So Carl, you better get a dispensation to take some seeds to wherever she's going to have the rust.
Well, you can send me the seeds and I can grow them up and I can test them.
You can't send the seed without a dispensation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. I'm more than happy to get some seed to you. That will be fine.
Okay. We'll make a plan.